Hello, you are listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast. I'm Paul Mackey. As mentioned in brief earlier this week, this is a full detail episode of the Rockford files that I had mostly ready to go. There seem to be a lot of other things that come up during the week. As it is, I'm recording this in the morning before an indeterminate number of errands, including getting license tabs at the DMV. Oh, joy. In the future, I hope to be talking to you more regularly, after reining in my tendency to put too much into the allegedly brief summaries. For now, let's get into the Rockford Files Season 2, Episode 2, The Farnsworth Stratagem, originally aired September 19th, 1975. That day of note, on BBC Two was the premiere of Fawlty Towers, which ran a total of 2 series and only 12 episodes. Notably, the second series episodes were all directed by Bob Spears, who would later go on to direct more than half of Press Gang's episodes, as well as a number of episodes of Bottom, Absolutely Fabulous, and the Spice World movie. Cue up the foreboding strings. Jaws was number 1 at the box office for the week, its 13th week at the top. In the UK, I did not have an archival copy of Music Week to refer to online, but the official charts company has a full database to refer to, so here's the top 5 for the week. Number 5 was a novelty song/TV theme, Jasper Carrot with Funky Moped and the Magic Roundabout. Number 4, Summertime City by Mike Batt with the new edition. Number 3 was The Last Farewell by Roger Whittaker. Number 2, Moonlighting by Leo Sayer, and for the third week, number 1 was Rod Stewart with Sailing. On the Billboard Hot 100, the number 5 single was Fight the Power, Part 1 by the Isley Brothers. Number 4, I'm Sorry by John Denver. At number 3 was At 17 by Janice Ian. Number 2, Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell, knocked out of number 1 by Fame by David Bowie. Something new for U.S. shows, ratings. I found a source for Nielsen numbers week to week. My source doesn't have a Nielsen weekly ranking like I was used to looking at in the 80s, but the ratings for Rockford Files based on the 2 weeks of the new season has the show at a 19.4 rating and a 36 share. Definitely some solid numbers. On to the summary. Notice how I didn't say brief. Sergeant Becker and his wife have bought a 2.5% share of a resort called the Bradley Hotel, and they've invited Jim to come along as they check the place out. They're informed by the manager that the guy who sold them a share sold the rooms separately as condos. All the Beckers own is a share of the lobby for $1,250 a month. Becker asks Rockford to find Simon Lloyd and get his money back. The next day, Audrey Wyatt comes to the trailer. She was taken in like the Beckers and also wants to get help recovering the scam money. Jim and Audrey head down to the precinct after checking for Simon Lloyd at his residence and office. He appears to have left town with no forwarding address. Becker wants Jim to leave and call him later. It turns out that Lieutenant Deal's wife is into the scammed group as well. Rockford says he's out because he won't work if Deal is involved. Back at the trailer, a man from the bank says his trailer is being foreclosed as the bank's leadership doesn't like him on this fraud case. Simon Lloyd has been pulling strings, apparently. Beth Davenport meets with Jim and Audrey. She says the contract is solid. Jim verifies with Beth the syndicate of the defrauded people has purchased the mineral rights, then says he needs all the owners of the syndicate to assign the rights to him and authorize him to act on their behalf. With everything in order, Jim arrives at the hotel posing as oilman J.W. Farnsworth, complete with a drilling crew headed up by Angel Martin and Rocky. They've got surveys that show the hotel sits over a very promising deposit of either oil or natural gas, allegedly. They start setting up a drilling rig and explain the situation to angered residents, who then work to get Lloyd back into the country. Jim has a rental house lined up for his Farnsworth persona, but he needs more money from the syndicate to make everything look like he is a very rich man. Angel and Rocky report back to Jim at the house. Angel has a scheme to run a side hustle, and they barely have enough men who halfway know what they're doing on a work site. Angel's recruits are all from all walks of life, aside from construction, and Rocky's legit hires want more money if they have to put up with Angel's men. Over an extended worksite sequence, we hear Angel telling Mr. Farnsworth they have sand samples to send off to the lab, and then Jim as Farnsworth saying it looks like they are seeing water on top of a natural gas deposit. Representatives of the condo unit owners come to Farnsworth demanding removal of the work equipment, implying there could be consequences via thinly veiled threats. Jim then asks Becker to get the tenants list and run it through the computer as he fears what will come back. There are holes turning up in Audrey's story, meanwhile. Her claim of ghostwriting children's books seems off because the original author is not in fact dead. She has an answer for that, but Jim's suspicions have been raised. He says that she has to have been part of the con. She has denials aplenty, but he wears her down until finally she says that Lloyd is in Brazil. He wants her to send him a cable, that way it won't say anything he doesn't want to say. It turns out that Audrey is just fond of scams. She loves the Farnsworth plan. Lloyd returns, tries several tacks to get Mr. Farnsworth to cease operations, and Jim lays it out. He's almost drilled into the deposit. They either strike oil or water, where the water indicates a natural gas deposit. Back at the house, Becker has bad news. Many of the tenants of the Bradley are with the mob. When Jim returns to the site, the cat is out of the bag. Audrey has shown Lloyd all of the lab tests and contracts. Jim says that is all phony, but Lloyd says he's done independent tests, and he wants to buy Jim out. By force if necessary, and he points out an associate, Mr. Christian, with the mob, who is going in on the deal. Jim tells Christian there's no oil, never will be, and he's Jim Rockford scamming as J.W. Farnsworth. Christian doesn't believe him. Christian insists that Rockford sell the mineral rights, no choice in the matter. Rockford singles Angel, and the well strikes water. When Rocky asks what they really hit, Jim says, it's the water main. Later, at the Beckers, it sounds as if everybody got out of the deal clear. Rockford got paid, saved his trailer, but Becker did want to save face with deal, so he didn't mention the whole con, or that Jim was involved.
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Rockford, this is Tony. Now your car's ready. I couldn't reach you, so I went ahead and put in the new pistons. The tab's 527.54. And this time we're talking cash.
Who is? Well, we see a couple of familiar faces returning. Gerald McRaney is back after last season, leading off the episode as the manager has to tell Becker that they bought shares in the lobby of the hotel. And, of course, we saw him on WizKids as well. Eric Server was in an episode last season, and we also saw him on WizKids in another small part. And Linda Evans is back and causing more trouble in a different role than last time when she played the title character in the episode Claire. But this time, I think I'll have a look at one of the main recurring actors, Gretchen Corbett as Beth Davenport. I had to check my master list of profiled cast members, and it felt like I should have come around to her sooner, but she only appears in 5 episodes of the first season. Gretchen Corbett was born in 1945 in Portland, Oregon, a place she would return to time and again throughout her lifetime. She began her acting career on stage, having been inspired attending the Oregon Shakespeare Festival at age 7. She studied theater at Carnegie Mellon, and her first major role out of school was as Desdemona in the Oregon Shakespeare Festival's Othello in 1966. I found one small list that says she was at Oregon Shakespeare Festival at the same time as Louis Del Grande from Seeing Things, but I couldn't find any details on whether they would have appeared together. Gretchen has performed or directed theater all her life, and early in her career she played several roles on Broadway before moving to television. She went to Hollywood under contract with Universal Pictures, and in the early 70s appeared in many of Universal's cop and detective shows. While she was on The Rockford Files, she appeared in a few plays for television on PBS, including The Fatal Weakness alongside Eva Marie Saint and Dennis Dugan. Unfortunately, after 4 seasons of Rockford, Universal had a dispute with the Rockford Files producers and was withdrawn from being able to perform. Spoiler alert, she returns in the TV films in the 90s. Throughout the 80s, she had guest appearances on many of the bigger shows, Magnum P.I., Simon & Simon, Murder, She Wrote, and 21 Jump Street. In the 90s, she was in several of the Rockford Files movies, as mentioned, and in the 2000s returned to the Pacific Northwest, at stages in and around her native Portland. She was in a couple of episodes of Portlandia, and 2 of her most recent films were Lorelei, along with Jenna Malone, and Pig, with Nicolas Cage. She has also worked as director of the Haven Project, a theater project for underprivileged youth in Portland. This aged poorly. It doesn't really fit the aging exactly, but I wasn't particularly happy with Rocky's disdain for the worker who speaks no English. Since that attitude persists today, I guess it really hasn't aged, has it? Totally 70s, I felt like the fascination with the oil industry was much more of a thing in the 70s. These days, oil business is still a thing, of course, but there really isn't the interest on TV or in the movies like there used to be, perhaps due to environmental concerns taking up the space in the zeitgeist. Artifactoids. The Bradley Hotel, the site for the main action of the episode, is in fact the Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, and it's not far from many perennial Rockford shooting locations. We've already seen it in an episode once before, The Kirchhoff Case, the first regular episode of the series following the pilot movie. The country club opened as the Los Angeles Athletic Club golf course, and much of the information I found online was more directed toward the golf course itself than to the structures on site. The course first opened in 1927, and the clubhouse that doubled as the Bradley Hotel in this episode was built in 1928. The Palisades fire this past winter put the club at serious risk, but it still stands. The country club has hosted the U.S. Open, the U.S. Senior Open, and the PGA Championship over the years. The 2028 Summer Olympics golf events are expected to be held at the Riviera as well. In 1932, it was also the site of equestrian events for the 1932 Summer Olympics, including polo. Elizabeth Taylor learned to ride at Riviera in preparation for shooting National Velvet. The polo ground was converted to the modern tennis facility in the 60s. The golf course has hosted the Genesis Invitational Tournament, originally the Los Angeles Open, 62 times, but the most recent event needed to be relocated to Torrey Pines due to the fires. There were a number of films which shot at the Riviera over the years, beginning with the silent film Spring Fever, shot in 1927 when the club had just formed. More recently, Against All Odds and Private Benjamin were shot there, along with television shows Columbo, Charlie's Angels, The Mod Squad, Dynasty, and The A-Team. If you should be invited to play around, don't wear jeans. The course dress code is a collared shirt and Bermuda shorts or slacks. There is an anecdote from Randy Newman which suggests the club excluded Jews in the 1950s. So what worked? They spent Season 1 with Rockford primarily at odds with Dennis Becker, so I liked the change that they've brought with Deal as the antagonist and Becker as the buddy on the force, even if Becker still doesn't like Angel Martin all that much. The whole cast of side characters were back for this one. Rocky, Becker, Beth Davenport, and Angel all in one episode felt like the whole gang was back together. I do hope that this clicked with the network, having a bigger recurring cast presence, though obviously, as previously mentioned, the network wasn't overly fond of Stuart Margolin, similar to Becker's attitude toward Angel. What didn't work? The episode must have come in pretty short, because there were a lot of extended oil drilling sequences, or that could be that fascination with the oil industry like I mentioned earlier. They kind of brought the mob angle in pretty late, and they seemed to really kind of drop it instead of having it really mean much in the story. And also, I really don't like the twist with Audrey Wyatt being in on the con. That element felt like a twist developed after they'd already intended her to be just another victim. However cozy they seemed at the end of the episode, based on prior experience with the series, I'm betting we never see her again. So next time will be The Rockford Files Season 2, Episode 3, Gear Jammers, Part 1, and I believe that I will see a location that is familiar either in Part 1 or Part 2 based on watching of The Whiz Kids recently. Happy hunting! You've been listening to the One Idjit's Thoughts On podcast produced by Paul Mackey in association with Nimlas Studios. Any short clips of audio from shows is included under fair use for commentary purposes, and copyright for that content remains with its original copyright holders. The theme song is Too Good by Jack Mangan and is used by his generous permission. One Idjit's Thoughts is produced under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can find more episodes of this podcast and many other fine podcasts at nimlas.org. You can contact me by emailing idjitcastpodcast@gmail.com or commenting on episodes at nimlas.org.
Let's make our own memories.
And if they can't get into a room, how can they have their threesome? Oh wait, that's probably just subtext.